Hello, friends. I'm so glad you're here. Sometimes after a long day, it's nice to slow down and settle into a cozy spot where we can share stories together. This is a special place where bedtime stories help us unwind, spark our imaginations, and gently guide us into sweet dreams. Each night, we'll go on an adventure. Some will be fun, some a little mysterious. But all of them will be told with care, just for you. So grab your favorite blanket, get nice and comfy, and let's enjoy a story together. It's a wonderful way to end the day, isn't it? I'm so happy you're here with me. Tonight's story is the tale of Orpheus and Eurydice Reborn by Victoria from South Africa. In the heart of ancient Greece, long after the gods and heroes have retreated to the mists of legend, there lived a young musician named Lycus. His melodies were said to be so enchanting that they could bring joy to the most sorrowful of hearts and summon tears from the most stoic of warriors. Lycus, however, was haunted by a recurring dream, a vision of a place shrouded in shadows, filled with the whispers of forgotten souls. In these dreams, a name always lingered on his lips: Eurydice. One evening, as the sun dipped beneath the horizon and cast its golden rays across the rolling hills of his village, Lycus wandered into a grove sacred to the god Apollo. There, he sat by a clear stream, strumming his lyre, lost in thought. His fingers moved effortlessly across the strings, but his mind was elsewhere, on the name, the dream, and the figure of a woman who felt both distant and familiar. As his song filled the air, something extraordinary happened. The wind stilled, the leaves ceased their rustling, and the world around him grew silent. From the shadows of the trees stepped a figure draped in silvery light. She was tall, with eyes like deep pools of midnight, and hair that flowed like a river under the moon. Lycus immediately recognized her from his dreams. "I am Persephone," she said, her voice gentle yet carrying the weight of eternity, queen of the underworld. "You sing of Eurydice, do you not?" Lycus, though startled, nodded. "I do. But I do not know her, nor do I understand why I dream of her." Persephone smiled, though there was sorrow in her gaze. "You know more than you realize. Long ago, there was a musician, much like you, who loved Eurydice more than life itself. His name was Orpheus." Lycus' heart quickened. He had heard the stories of Orpheus and Eurydice, the tragic lovers, separated by death, and the musician's fateful journey to the underworld to bring her back. "You are Orpheus reborn," Persephone continued, "and the soul of Eurydice still calls to you, waiting for the moment when your love will be strong enough to reunite you. But fate had granted you a second chance." Lycus trembled. "A second chance? To descend to the underworld as Orpheus did, to face the gods once more?" Persephone stepped closer, her presence as calming as it was awe-inspiring. "Yes, but this time you must rely not only on your music, but on your heart. The gods will not interfere as they did before. This is your test." Before Lycus could respond, the ground beneath him trembled, the stream beside him darkened, and the sky above turned to an inky black. He was no longer in the sacred grove, but in a land of shadows, where the air was thick with the presence of the dead. He had entered the underworld. Clutching his lyre, Lycus began his journey, his heart pounding in his chest. He had heard of the perils of this realm, its labyrinthine paths, its river of forgetfulness, and its guardians, who would challenge anyone attempting to disturb the peace of the dead. Yet, despite the fear gnawing at him, Lycus pressed forward, guided by an unshakable pull in his soul. After what felt like days, though time was meaningless in this realm, Lycus arrived at the banks of the river Styx. There, waiting for him, was the ferryman, Charon. His hollow eyes gleamed as he extended a skeletal hand. "Orpheus," Charon rasped, though his voice carried the weight of centuries. "You return." Lycus met the ferryman's gaze. "I am not Orpheus, but I seek Eurydice." Charon said nothing as he guided his boat to the shore. With a wave of his hand, the waters of the Styx parted, revealing a path. "Your passage is granted, but know this: your love will be tested." Lycus nodded, stepping onto the path. The journey across the river was swift, but with every step he felt the weight of the underworld pressing upon him. Shadows whispered in his ear. Doubts flickered in his mind, and the cold of the place seeped into his bones. Yet the name Eurydice carried him forward. Finally, Lycus arrived at the heart of the underworld, a vast field of asphodel where the souls of the dead wandered, silent and aimless. At the far end of the field, beneath a great tree, stood a figure dressed in white. Her back was turned to him, but Lycus knew in his heart who she was. "Eurydice," he whispered, stepping closer. His heart raced as the figure turned to face him. She was as beautiful as the legends had said, her features serene, her eyes filled with the depth of a soul that had waited for lifetimes. But there was sorrow there too, a sorrow Lycus felt in his own heart. "Lycus," she said softly, her voice like a song carried on the wind, "you have come for me." "I have," he replied, his voice trembling. "I don't understand why, but I know I have loved you before." Eurydice stepped closer, her hand outstretched. "We have been bound by love across lifetimes, but this time you must let go of fear. Orpheus lost me because he could not trust in his heart. He doubted, and in that moment I was lost to him." Lycus felt the weight of her words. "I will not fail you." Eurydice smiled, though it was tinged with sadness. "The path to the living world is before us, but you must promise me this: do not look back, no matter what happens." Lycus's throat tightened. He had heard this before. It was the condition the gods had set for Orpheus, and the very condition that had doomed him. "I won't," he whispered, taking her hand. Together they began the journey back, walking through the fields of asphodel, across the river, and through the twisting paths of the underworld. With each step, Lycus felt the pressure of unseen eyes upon him, heard the faintest whispers urging him to turn, to look, to doubt. But he did not. With every fiber of his being, he kept his eyes forward, focused on the light that grew brighter as they neared the exit to the world of the living. As they approached the final gate, the whispers grew louder, more insistent. His heart raced. What if she wasn't really behind him? What if it was all a trick? What if she was slipping away as she had before? But then he felt her hand tighten in his, grounding him in the present. Finally, they passed through the gate and emerged into the world of light. Lycus turned to see Eurydice alive and whole, standing beside him. The weight of centuries lifted, and in that moment they were free. As the sun rose over the hills, Lycus knew that this time their love had triumphed. The tale of Orpheus and Eurydice had been rewritten. Well, wasn't that a lovely story? I'm so glad we could share it together. Now, as the day comes to an end, it's time to rest and let all those wonderful thoughts and dreams carry you through the night. Remember, tomorrow is a new day, full of new adventures, and I'll be right here when you're ready for another story. Until then, take a deep breath, get cozy, and know that you are safe, you are loved, and you are important, just the way you are. Good night, and sleep well.